So good evening, everyone, and welcome. The December 8th, 2021 meeting of the Long Branch City Council will now come to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dangler?
Here.
Mr. Vieira is absent. Mrs. Wittes?
Here.
Dr. Selly?
Here.
Dr. Vogt?
Here. We'll now recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
For which
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll now read the mission statement for the City Council. The Long Branch Mayor, City Council, and Administration are committed to cultivating an environment of mutual trust and respect that values the diversity of our community. We will strive to enhance the quality of life for all who live here by making Long Branch a desirable place in which to live and prosper. And we will treat all members of the public with respect and expect the same in return. Heather, would you please do the certification?
I hereby certify that this meeting has been published in the newspaper and adequate and electronic notice has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and the New Jersey Administrative Code, Title V, Chapter 39, Section 1.5, Notice of Remote Public Meetings as required by law.
Thank you. Reading and approval of previous minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the November 23rd, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Go ahead. Roll call.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
Mr. Vieira is absent. Mrs. Wittes?
Abstain.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
And Dr. Vogt?
Yes. So in our presentations tonight, we're going to have a special presentation on the Senior Center expansion and renovation plan, which is just one of the many exciting projects that's happening in Long Branch. And to do that presentation for us will be representatives from Parallel Architects. So if I could turn it over to you right now.
Sure. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Antonio Scalise from Parallel Architectural Group, and I'd like to first and foremost thank the council for the opportunity to work on this project, and especially Dr. Selly for actually was able to do a walkthrough with her in some other facilities to kind of help with the design process. So thank you again. So if I may, I'm going to share my screen. And let me make sure I do this correctly. Can everybody see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So obviously tonight, I'm here to discuss the Long Branch Senior Center renovation project. To start, the task at hand, as a vital part of the community, the Senior Center serves 900 active members in its daily provisions of social, educational, and health services. Our office was tasked by the council and the mayor and team to update renovate the Long Branch Senior Center to better serve its community. The existing facility dates back approximately to the 1950s, and the pandemic has brought to the forefront the critical need to upgrade it. The plan includes doubling the space that's there now with the addition of a technology center and larger multi-purpose room for both entertainment and fitness activities. It was really apparent in the beginning of looking at the project through interviews and site visits for what was needed. As we were walking through the spaces, one particular space in particular was the ceramics room, where the space was being used, and obviously they're making do, but you can see that they're trying to store pottery and so forth, and some of them were getting damaged and things of that nature. So they felt like they were kind of on top of each other. So it was very apparent that we needed to accommodate the following spaces, which again was the ceramics room, arts and crafts area, sewing and knitting, computer and technology room. We were introducing this to the project. Exercise and fitness in the new multi-purpose room, along with proper administrative offices and desperately needed storage. That was for sure needed. A new health and wellness space to provide some exams and screenings, a food pantry, garden area, a better flow of the entry and exit, and also providing outside space activities as well. The plan was for us to take the existing facility, which is approximately 6,550 square feet, and renovate the existing, kind of keep a lot of the framework of what's there, and then add, based on the spaces that were needed, we added approximately 7,000 square feet for a total of 13,450 square feet. The existing building was to maintain, again, most of the framework, but we would be upgrading all of the finishes on the interior and exterior. We were looking to use nautical forms and deliberate design gestures to celebrate Long Branch and create a presence on Ocean Boulevard, because we're kind of on the corner of Ocean Boulevard and Laird Street, kind of directly across from the Bungalow Hotel. And we were trying to create a nice bookend and create a presence on Ocean Boulevard. We're looking to improve and upgrade all the utility systems, and we're looking for better functionality for the community, reduction to near elimination of level changes, create ADA compliance, add more bathrooms, create safer and senior-friendly finishes, and new interior design spaces to be bright, airy, and take advantage of natural daylight. I don't know if you could see my cursor, but the area that's highlighted in yellow is the existing facility. So you can see here on the east side, this is where the building ends. And then if you look at the gray and white squares, these are all the additions that we were looking to do. So we created a new porte cochere, which is a nice element to have for drop off and pickup. New entry, large multi-purpose room, along with the other functions. As that porte cochere I was describing, and I hope everybody can see it okay still. You can see here we have a new entry. So again, if you look at my cursor, this was the old entry, which was really tight and hard to navigate through. There was a long ramp. So we tried to eliminate that level change and create a better entry level through manipulation of the parking lot and positioning of the building. We created a wonderful space, which you'll see some images shortly of the reception area, which creates like a cafe area, library, and a vibrant, space along with a technology center. We've added more bathrooms to accommodate the larger facility. We created a new administrative office wing, which has better access to patrons coming in and out. We created a larger ceramics and pottery room because apparently that's the hot thing in senior centers. So we created a really nice large pottery room with proper storage, arts and crafts spaces. The one good thing that the facility had is that the kitchen area is in great condition, so we're maintaining that. But we're actually able to steal some space from that and create a cooking class area, which is nice. Also, we have the existing multi-purpose room, which is going to get refurbished. And then we have the new multi-purpose room towards the east of the building, which is a very wonderful, a nice gesture, kind of, again, mimicking a little bit the Bungalow Hotel, just kind of creating a nice presence on Ocean Boulevard. Again, just as looking further in, you can see here if you could see these dotted lines on the existing spaces, the ceramics and pottery room got larger, which I think was critical. and then allowing other spaces to have their own area. For example, the Arts and Crafts Center here and the sewing and knitting area. And all of that is still in the existing building. And then as you look at the new building, you can see as I zoom in, the library, as I stated before, reception area, cafe, a nice health and wellness room, more bathrooms, proper storage, and a pantry, right? A food pantry was critical. I know one of the staff members had pantry food all in their office and all over the place to try to accommodate that. So we gave them a proper area. And then we're looking for the new multi-purpose room to have so many activities in there, exercise, entertainment, movies, to provide for that. And we're hoping that some of these areas on the new multi-purpose rooms spill out to the outdoor area and gardens. Here you can see now some 3D images we created of the new entry area here, the porte cochere, where we could provide protection when you pull in. And you kind of get a sense from the building. This is the presence on the street side on 2nd Avenue, the presence to kind of pull you around the building and pull you into the building. And this is the area on Ocean Boulevard where we have some beautiful sweeping roof lines, trying to have a little fun with the space and create a light and airy environment to be exciting, and you want to be in these spaces. We're trying to follow, nautical and beachy style materials like hardy board and things of that nature to kind of give it a homey feel as much as we can, and try to blend those design ideas. Again, this is now also a view from the rear area that kind of shows some of the garden spaces. So the exterior is going to be just as critical as the building to create a wonderful environment to engage. Again, the interior design plan, we're looking to create something that has a luxury feel, but also comfortable design. The overall wellness, again, adding the outdoor seating areas and really bring the outside in and vice versa. We're looking to have a really quality lighting, natural lighting in the space. And we're encouraging interaction and open floor plans and meeting and gathering spaces. And again, ultimately, what we're trying to do is promote community engagement and local pride. These are some of the interior images that we have. Just kind of showing the inside of the space and the entry area, create some seating areas for people waiting for certain activities and so forth. You can see above here, we have natural light coming in. This is another shot looking towards the entry, looking at the entry from inside. Again, just trying to create a bright and airy feel. And that's essentially my presentation. I don't know if I went too fast, but is there any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
So Anthony, I just, if I could just jump in for a moment, what I wanted to add to this, which I really appreciated what you did here, is that for starters, Lou, at some point you might want to comment on the $2 million that we've currently received to do the expansion and the renovation, but also keeping, budget in mind. Anthony, this was a conversation with the team about keeping the bones of the building. So basically we're expanding, but we're not, if you look at those images, we're not cutting, busting walls and things like that. So we're kind of using the space that we have economically with the new addition, which I think frankly was a real positive from what you presented to us. And then the last thing I wanted to mention too is we didn't even realize, right, George and Anthony, that we own that property actually adjacent and in the rear of the senior center, which you sort of opened up. And I guess Mary Jane, I know that they had the seniors had a large garden at one point back there, but Anthony, I like what you did in terms of just making it sort of indoor, outdoor space that you kind of open up and go outside. So I just wanted to throw that out. And, Lou, I don't know if you wanted to just comment on the money we received and how we received that or whatever. But, the intent is to keep this to a minimum, to make a beautiful building, expand it. But again, to keep the basic structure that we had.
Only, Mayor, my only comment is, obviously at the time that we negotiated the redevelopment agreement in question, we recognized that the senior center was probably the public facility which is closest to the redevelopment area and impacted most by it. That it warranted the use of those redevelopment dollars to expand it. Certainly, it's available to all the residents of the city, and also those residents that have come to live in the redevelopment areas. But we appreciated the connection between the senior center and the redevelopment area, and that allowed us the mechanism to receive the contribution.
I would agree with you, Lou, and I think the architects did a wonderful job working with what they had to work with. I'm impressed by the main reception area. That's very important. That's something we don't have, because if anybody who's gone in the senior center know, that's a very small area when you go in, but there is an open space where you can sit down and you can talk. I think they've done a wonderful job. That's my own personal opinion. And I think all the seniors will be very, very happy when they see it.
So my own personal opinion, Anthony, I think your whole team did a magnificent job. I love the combination of a very kind of whimsical, modern, clean, very welcoming space. And just to second what Councilwoman Selly said, I can see all of our senior citizens who go there being very comfortable and appreciating the fact that they have that space to be together comfortably, to chat and enjoy each other's company. Outstanding.
Thank you.
My comment are very brief. I just want to say that it is amazing. And I am proud to have something like this in Long Branch for the seniors. And MJ, I'm going to need a membership.
Yeah.
I'm going to need a membership.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I think it's great too. I love the color schemes. I love the fact that there's gardens there. And I think that Anthony, your company did a great job in the plans, and I'm really looking forward to that for our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Wonderful. Wonderful, Anthony. Again, kudos and thanks to your whole team. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you very
So,
much. Did a nice job.
yeah. Wonderful. So with that, let me move on in the agenda, and we are up to consideration of ordinances, public hearing, and final consideration. And this is ordinance 22-21, which is an ordinance by the City of Long Branch and Monmouth County, New Jersey, regulating the operation of any class of cannabis licensed businesses by amending Chapter 345 of the Code of the City of Long Branch entitled Zoning, and by creating new chapters 104 entitled Cannabis Licensed Businesses, and Chapter 307 entitled Establishment of Cannabis Transfer and User Tax in the City of Long Branch. This ordinance was introduced on November 10th, 2021, and amends the zoning ordinance to regulate cannabis business licenses and establish a transfer tax and user tax on the sale of cannabis or cannabis items. I need a motion to open public hearing.
No move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. If any member of the public has comments to make on this ordinance only, please dial *9 on your phone and a representative will call on you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When you're called upon, state your name and address clearly for the record. You'll have 5 minutes and may only speak once. Do we have any callers?
We do. Alan A.O. Farm D. Go ahead.
Hey, how are you? Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
I wish I could display my video to see that. That was a great presentation. That's the nicest senior center I've ever seen.
Mhm. Mhm.
How are you? My name is Dr. Alan Now. I live at 27 Whittier Drive in Morganville, New Jersey. I'm a registered pharmacist and lifelong New Jersey native. First, I'd like to thank the Township of Long Branch for bringing this topic up for consideration. This is an industry that I've worked in New Jersey for the past 3 years that I'm very passionate about. For some background about myself, I've been working about 10 years in various independent pharmacy settings before pivoting into New Jersey's medical cannabis space for the last 3 years. I served as vice president and clinical pharmacist of Garden State Dispensary, one of the first licensed medical cannabis facilities in New Jersey, and currently operating a medical cannabis consulting firm called Plants and Prescriptions. So as someone who has first-handedly witnessed the medical benefits of cannabis, I'm proud to consider myself an advocate, educator, and respected medical professional in this space. So my vision is to open a community-focused cannabis dispensary that's centered on education and healthy normalized cannabis consumption. I've been following many townships regulations closely to find a community that would be open and willing to host my team members and I. So in regards to the current ordinance that Long Branch is proposing, the Class 5 retailer license has a provision stating, and this is in quotes, in Class 5 licensed cannabis retailers shall not be permitted within 1,000 feet of any existing Class 5 licensed premise or any school, park, or house of worship. So I've personally circled around the town a dozen times since the ordinance was first introduced, trying to look for a space. And I honestly haven't been able to find any viable locations that would meet the criteria. And I sent an email last night with a visual representation of my findings as well. So I can't speak for what's best for the township as a whole, but I can simply recommend to the council to reduce the distance requirements to something less restrictive, if not entirely, to ensure a retail operation would be able to succeed successfully. So in addition, since there's planned to be a cap on each number of license types, I'd recommend the council to also consider an RFA, request for application process of some sort. History has demonstrated that New Jersey, as well as many other states, have been mired in litigation due to fragmented processes of issuing licenses, not just on the state level, but in a municipality level as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or discuss further, but in general, I just have some concerns of making sure a Class 5 business is cognizant of what's happening within your community. I don't want to be next to a school or house of worship or park, but unfortunately, the way that this ordinance is written right now, I don't think there's any viable locations. That's just from me circling with the town. So that's my input, and I'm not sure if this is like a Q&A style or whatnot, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or hear any comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan. We will, for this time, it is not question and answer. It's just hearing everybody's comments for council's consideration. So thank you. Do we have any other callers?
Yeah, two
Okay.
more. Here, oh, three
Oops.
more.
Okay.
Caller whose phone number ends in 385. Go ahead.
Yes, this is Laura Tarlow at 52 Baruch Drive. Concerning this, the proposal here, you have in here a consumption area. it appears that you're envisioning cannabis retailers to have an indoor exterior structure for consumption.
No,
I think that
Ms. Tarlow, that's not correct. We defined it only so that we could prohibit it and we know what we're talking about. So the only thing
Okay,
that's
gotcha.
permitted, the Class 5 license is a licensed cannabis retailer, without a cannabis consumption area. So we just define it so that that is a defined term.
Okay, fantastic.
You're welcome.
And then you have a cannabis delivery service. So I'm against that sort of thing. This would be like someone on the beach ordering pizza delivery. I wouldn't want to see a cannabis delivery on the beach, even though it's prohibited on the beach to consume. So I'd like consideration of eliminating the delivery service. It's something that can be added in the future.
I don't think I'm sorry to interrupt you again. That's the delivery between a manufacturer and a retailer. This is not
Okay.
cannabis Uber. So, and under the state law, I think that they're permitted in every town in any event. We're just regulating where it would go.
Okay. And to the previous caller who mentioned the 1,000 feet, I think that's a very small distance relative to schools and parks, houses of worship. And I also would like to see that it's the oceanfront is added to that. Any way that we can discourage consumption on the oceanfront. I think that it becomes very difficult for the police to really monitor this situation. Similarly, at the Transit Village, I prefer that there not be any retail there. We don't need to have kids coming off the trains, purchasing this, and then heading over to the beach. And similarly, Pier Village. The other point in terms of commercial areas, you have listed neighborhood commercial districts. I prefer that this be eliminated. We have some very small neighborhood commercial districts where some of us are in very quiet neighborhoods. We've intentionally been live away from the beach to have those quiet residential areas. We don't want to see new traffic patterns coming. And since there are many towns that are not allowing the sale of cannabis, and we will be, we certainly are going to be attracting more folks coming into our area. And I'd like to keep our quiet neighborhoods quiet, quite frankly. The last point I'd like to make is on the transfer tax. I'm happy to see that the city is levying some taxes to get some new revenues. I'd like to recommend that 80% of the revenue go directly to reduction of the property taxes and 20% towards mental health, that none of this revenue is put towards other operations by the city. We as property owners may be inconvenienced by the new traffic that's coming into the city for the purchase of cannabis, and we frankly can use some help in reducing our property taxes. Thank you for consideration of those points.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Caller, caller whose phone number ends in 198. Go ahead.
Vincent Lepore, 33 Ocean Terrace, Long Branch, requesting 1-minute notification. Quoting the planning board report upon which this ordinance is based, quote, furthermore, the proposed ordinance advances the following objective of the 2010 and 2020 master plans. And then it goes on to quote, encourage a mix of quality retail, entertainment, dining, upper story offices and residences in the commercial districts to create vibrancy and to serve local and regional markets. If you think a cannabis establishment creates quality, you better think again. If you think it creates vibrancy, yes, it does, in a negative way. And to serve local and regional markets, you better believe it, because the surrounding communities of Long Branch have banned it. That the Ordinance 22 has consistency based on that quote with the master plan is most tortured as well as incompetent. First of all, the master plan that is sourced from is dated March 26, 2010. At that time, nor with the present reexamination report, was there any consideration to accommodate cannabis? On its face, the planning board report on cannabis conflicts with itself concerning the master plan and actually negates the tortured interpretation by the planning board. Under the master plan objectives for land use, item 1 states, quote, create land use districts and standards that are clear and concise and leave no doubt as to the intended location and intensity of the land use, end quote. Item number 6, objectives for land use, master plan states, quote, encourage commercial development and retrofitting that emphasizes quality architecture, shared access and parking, transit-friendly facilities, pedestrian circulation, appropriate intensification of buildings, and extensive landscaping, and which avoids oversized parking areas, light pollution, and multiple and uncontrollable highway access points, end quote. And then item number 8, under circulation of the master plan, quote, provide safe and accessible parking for residents, business, and visitors that is in direct relationship to actual need, end quote. It cannot be emphasized enough. This ordinance does not provide any data that is related to traffic, whether vehicular or pedestrian, nor does it provide data on parking, both parking, traffic, and the essential operation of a cannabis establishment with that traffic and parking. If anything, the master plan presents challenges to cannabis establishments until the proof of vehicle and pedestrian traffic and parking and quality life issues are satisfied, which this ordinance is clearly lacking. Municipalities throughout Colorado have proved deterioration of quality of life around cannabis establishments. One venturing outside of Denver Airport markedly see this deterioration. Planning board report cannot source consistency of the master plan to justify this ordinance. This is not an alcohol ordinance. This is cannabis, completely different in nature. The Monmouth County Commissioners issued Resolution L 2020-0755 against cannabis. The resolution was copied to all municipalities. The resolution cited the usual reasons,
1
as
minute
important as
notification.
they are, but they also cited the economic cost to surrounding businesses and taxpayers versus the paltry revenue coming in at 0.031% of a $40 million plus state budget. As for Long Branch, what a cheap way to finance the budget, which this revenue won't even make a dent. The New Jersey State of Legal Municipalities, 71% of the municipalities have opted out. The city has failed to control the crime rate, drugs and alcohol in the police department, and the gangs. There is no justification for the city of Long Branch to venture with this ordinance. Requesting a no vote.
Thank you, Mr. Lepore. Are there any more callers?
Caller whose phone number ends in 350. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Ernest Mignoli, 710 Northeast 7th Street, Unit 407, Boynton Beach, Florida. I'm a former resident of 301 2nd Avenue, born and raised in Long Branch in Monmouth County for 72 years. So I come back part-time now. I have family and church and people at rest there and graveyards and family in New York and New Jersey. So Long Branch was not only my birthplace, but some place that I'll always care about, especially the families and people I grew up with. So relative to this presentation, I'd like to say that I have been following it for years. I attended almost all the state, federal, and county and municipal meetings with senators, with governor, with municipalities, mayors, council, doctors, lawyers, pharmacists, medical doctors, psychiatrists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I noticed that the more family-oriented towns with lots of children, lots of schools, public and private, lots of religious places of all different types, and especially ones on the shore. If you follow the voting and the council meetings, most of the family-oriented municipalities are not going with these establishments. And the reason I say that is because it's interesting that Long Branch, which I grew up in, has always had a horrible, undefinable, horrible drug, alcohol abuse, sex crime, etc. I don't want to say too much because you know what you do when I talk about facts. You mute me. But let's just stick with drugs and alcohol. I mean, if you just look at the record internally of Long Branch, we're talking City Hall, government employees, mayors, councils, police, firemen, lawyers. I mean, you know, DUI, DWI in Long Branch is just astounding. And I don't see how in one meeting, can I get a 1-minute notification?
Sure.
Thank you. I don't see how when you talk about nice things like a senior center, and then you consider maybe putting, you know, a marijuana center nearby. I don't get the mix. You know, and then you're talking, you don't want anything near schools, you don't want anything near churches, you don't want anything near parks. I don't know. I grew up in Long Branch. I don't think there's too much place that's not near a park or a church or a school or something to do with children. So I'm just trying to think, why? Is this about budget? Is everything always got to be about budget? Is that what it, in other words, how is Long Branch going to pay for all these excessive services that high density redevelopment has caused? The need for a lot more police, a lot more firemen, a lot more equipment, a lot more salaries, a lot more city employees, a lot more this, a lot more that.
Notification.
Thank you. And then, of course, all the pensions that go with that. So revenue's got to come from somewhere. And then when Long Branch hears about certain places that, oh, we're making a lot of money with these marijuana things, right away your ears perk. And look, what am I going to say? You know why you're doing this. If you really cared about Long Branch as a family town, you would do like every other family town is doing and nixing this. Even Asbury turned it down. How is Long Branch going to look yourselves in the face when Asbury is concerned about having it near schools and children, and Long Branch is like, well, we'll do it. And what's the impact going to be on the beaches, on, you know, kids walking around on the train station and bringing in that kind of clientele? And let's not ever, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Magnoli. Are there any more callers?
No other hands raised.
Okay, thank you, Will. I need a motion now to close the public portion for this ordinance.
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
This is the second reading of Ordinance 2221, titled an ordinance by the City of Long Branch, Monmouth County, New Jersey, regulating the operation of any class of cannabis licensed businesses by amending Chapter 345 of the Code of the City of Long Branch entitled Zoning, and by creating new chapters 104 entitled Cannabis Licensed Businesses, and Chapter 307 entitled Establishment of Cannabis Transfer and User Tax in the City of Long Branch. I need a motion to adopt on second and final reading and advertise according to law.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call?
Mr. Dangler?
yes.
Mr. Viera is absent. Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
yes,
Dr. Vogt?
Yes. Ordinance 23-21. This is an ordinance of the City of Long Branch approving and adopting redevelopment plan for non-condemnation redevelopment area consisting of block 215 lots 3 and 5.01 and a former municipal right-of-way within blocks 215. This ordinance was introduced on November 10th, 2021, and amends the redevelopment plan of to incorporate blocks 215 lots 3 and 5.01 and an approximately 20-foot former municipal right-of-way within block 215 that divides lots 3 and 5.01 as a non-condemnation redevelopment area. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
aye,
If any member of the public has comments to make on this ordinance only, please dial *9 on your phone and a representative will call on you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When you're called upon, state your name and address clearly for the record. You'll have 5 minutes and may only speak once. And do we have any callers?
2 hands raised. Mr. McNoll, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Ernest McNolly, 710 Northeast 7th Street, 407 Boynton Beach, Florida, formerly 301 2nd Avenue, Long Branch. So I believe we're back to where the city is, well, you're approving or you're giving or donating a street or an alley or something? Isn't that it?
No,
Okay. Can you just clarify?
sure. It's the adoption of the redevelopment plan for the Seaview Tower site on Ocean Boulevard.
And is that the one where you're looking to increase the density and the height? Or is that the one where you're looking to increase the footprint? Or is that the one where you need some passage or right of way to some neighbors? Or is that the one where you're donating some land to the developer?
It's none of those things. This is a redevelopment plan for the Seaview Tower site. You may recall that the towers were just taken down, and this is the redevelopment of that site.
Right. I've seen the renditions, the pictures that you put.
That's what it
they're
is.
everywhere. They're all. I think it's 2 buildings with a big pool and et cetera.
Exactly.
So what do you need to get approved? You need a modification of the existing redevelopment of Scott Towers the way it was because of what you want to build. So you need.
There's no current redevelopment plan. This is there's zoning in place, but this is the adoption of the redevelopment plan. There was an approval there to build a 101 unit apartment plus a 79 unit hotel. This reduces the total number of units to 154.
What do you mean reduces? You just said 101 and a 79 room hotel.
Right.
And now you said it reduces to 154?
Correct. So now the total went from 180 to 154.
Oh, 180 to 154.
So now it's 154.
Okay. All right. And are you requesting on the units to create larger units? Is that why you'll have less units? In other words, you want to make more 2 and 3 bedrooms?
I'd let the planner answer those questions. I don't think that's the case. I think the building mass is actually smaller, so I think overall total it would be less.
Has everything been resolved with the nearby developer that filed a lawsuit that that there were some things given to this that weren't given to a neighbor developer, and they appealed, and I think it's supposed to be a big lawsuit. Is that all taken care of now?
No, that lawsuit has not been resolved, but that's a different piece of property.
That's not the Scott Towers one.
No, it's not.
Is it one near the Scott Towers?
Yeah, I believe that the Scott, well, you call it Scott Towers, I call it Seaview, but that's 390 Ocean, and that other property, I believe, is 290 Ocean. So it's two different properties.
So the essence of what you're presenting, are you saying that the developer, there's a zoning, it already fits the zoning plan. However, the redevelopment plan doesn't have anything for it, so you're creating that. And the first presentation must have shown that it fits the zoning, and then it was presented as 180 units and a 79-room hotel, and somebody must have complained. So now you're coming back with a redevelopment modification to say it still fits the zoning, but we want to go from 180 units to 150?
54. So before, I just want to just correct you. It was 101 units plus 79, so the total was 180. Now that's been reduced to 154. That was under the zoning ordinance. There was no redevelopment plan. So this developer came in and made a proposal, and what you saw, the presentation that you saw, was a result of its discussions with the city. But the redevelopment plan is different than the prior zoning, and that's why we're adopting a redevelopment plan and doing it as a redevelopment.
And when I go on Facebook and I look at all the comments, I don't know, I think there's 30,000 people in Long Branch, I think 29,682 of them don't like this.
5 minutes.
Well, I think your time is up, but that's just not true. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Vignoli. Do we have any other callers?
One more. Mr. Lepore, go ahead.
Vincent Lepore, 33 Ocean Terrace, Long Branch, requesting 1 minute notification. Mr. Reno, I've seen many meetings where you deceit. There is no cross dialogue, Mr. Reno.
I thought you were
I've
asking
seen
a
many
question.
meetings. There is no. Mr. Reno, I've seen deceit, lies, but tonight you really did it again. I was present at the planning board for the hearings of Kronheim, presentation of the project called Stairway to Heaven, because of the step back upper stories of the building. There were no defined number of units in the building because Kronheim was going with an innovative market approach to sell square footage and build to suit. So for you to come out tonight and state a defined number of units, to parlay that into a reduction to 154 units is about as false a statement as can be.
That's just fundamentally not true, Mr. Lepore. You don't
It's
never
exact.
build a
I
building.
was there.
You don't build a residential building without.
I was there. I was there, Mr. Reno. You weren't for the Kronheim application before the planning board. Don't tell me what I know, because you're wrong. It's rather deceitful of this council to consider this ordinance this evening in light of the fact that the resolution 286, the related as a financial agreement quid pro quo for this project with the higher density, has been pulled.
That's not
The
what
reference-
that's not what that. But in
The
all due respect, Mr.
references
Lepore, it's
in the
not
planning
fair.
board
That's
report
not
to
what that was.
passages and
It's just not true.
Council
it's not
President,
true.
I'm
There is no
requesting the
financial
removal of Mr. Reno from this meeting immediately for
Well,
violating
in all due
your
respect,
rules of
Mr. Lepore,
conduct.
I'm not
No,
going to let you
you're
lie.
being removed now. You're being
Mr.
removed.
Lepore, Mr.
He's being
Lepore,
removed for violating the rules of your
Mr.
directives for this
Lepore,
meeting.
will you please mute him for a second? Mr. Lepore, you do not tell us how to run the meetings. Mr. Reno is not being removed from this meeting. If you have any comments to continue, they need to be appropriate comments that are not defamatory and that are not false. Now, if you want to continue for the rest of your time, those are the guidelines. That's the warning that you're getting. If more false comments continue, we will just move on to the next caller. So, Will, if you could put his mic back on to continue for the remainder of his 5 minutes.
Let's vote one set of rules for the lawyer and another set of rules for the public. You're on notice, Ms. Vogt. You're not going to continue running these council meetings as a censored gong show. The references in the planning board report to passages in the 2010 master plan and 2020 master plan reexamination report don't even come close to justifying the establishment of a redevelopment zone. The criteria cited in the planning board based on NJSA 40A, 12A1, etc., no longer applies because as of tonight, criteria A and D, the buildings are down. There are no buildings except for a minor pool house. The report's time has run out. The two towers are no longer there. Therefore, this matter cannot even be considered tonight. Further, the report states, quote, while the plan's permitted density is higher than what is specified in the 2010 master plan, the elimination of the permitted hotel and resort uses makes the proposed plan consistent with the densities and intensities established in that document, end quote. No, no, no. Wrong, wrong, wrong. What a cheap thumb on the scale that is. The current zoning C4 waterfront residential MIC does not have to say it had a commercial component. This is again tailored to the developer, a creation of a redevelopment zone for higher density, 54 more units, another high density luxury oceanfront development project. In short, a bigger building. Spot zoning, pure and simple. The redevelopment zone or not, the developer was before NJDEP with this proposal, 390 Ocean Avenue, and it's already in violation of NJDEP CAFRA coastal zone management rules for individual permit applications. Just like the same developer was denied the 290 Ocean Avenue LLC project, in which this city council and planning board displayed complete incompetence and malpractice and incurred 2 lawsuits by a property owner in the beachfront South redevelopment zone. What was needed here for the benefit of the people of this city, not the developer, is to have the amended to the C4 zoning, thus eliminating the need for redevelopment zones. And if the developer cannot live with amended zoning in the C4 zone, then the hell with them. For clear stated reasons, for the interest of the public, no more higher density, bigger, luxury oceanfront buildings on the oceanfront. No vote. Requesting no.
Thank you, Mr. Lepore. Any other callers, Will?
No other hands raised.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion.
Council President, before you accept the motion, I just want to clarify something. We had on the agenda tonight what is called an interim cost agreement, and anybody who has attended these council meetings probably over the course of the last 15 years has seen that phrase on a council agenda before. That is not a finance agreement for the project. What that is an agreement by which the applicant posts an escrow to cover the cost of drafting the plan and negotiating the redevelopment agreement. The reason that was pulled from the agenda is because we have also added to that agreement, and we have not finalized the language on it, an agreement to complete the rest of the cleanup of the property, because we wanted to make sure that while we were going through the negotiation of the redevelopment agreement, that the cleanup of the property take place in an expeditious fashion. So that's the only reason it wasn't on. I don't want anybody to leave here with the impression that The other part of this is some finance agreement, because as we have said over and over and over again, there is no finance agreement, there is no tax abatement, there's none of those things. And once again, despite what was said, and Mr. Graviano is on the site, I don't think I have the unit count wrong of the prior approval, but I'm pretty sure that I have it correct, that it was 101 units, I believe, in the tower and a hotel, which is clearly a much more intense use than what's being planned now. That's the way we envisioned it. That's what we insisted from the developer. And I just want to make sure that we clarify the record there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reno. And as you know, we've said for the benefit of the public, we have said this several times that there often information has either been incorrect or incomplete. And what we are trying to do with the comments is to say, these are the facts of the situation, and these are how those facts fit into the broader picture. So that's the intent of Mr. Reno's comments, to help everybody understand the accurate story with some of these projects. So thank you, Mr. Reno.
You're welcome.
And with that, I need a motion to close the public portion for this ordinance.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. This is the second reading of ordinance 23-21, titled An Ordinance of the City of Long Branch Approving and Adopting Redevelopment Plan for the Non-Condemnation Redevelopment Area consisting of Block 215, Lots 3 and 5.01, and a former municipal right-of-way within Block 215. I need a motion to adopt on second and final reading and advertise according to law.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Dr. Selly. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
Mr. Viera is absent. Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes. Ordinance for introduction. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-21, entitled A Bond Ordinance Providing for Various 2021 Capital Acquisitions and Improvements to the City of Long Branch in the County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey. Appropriating $3,500,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,333,000 in bonds or notes to the city to finance part of the costs thereof. And this is the explanation of that ordinance. This bond ordinance provides for various capital acquisitions and improvements consisting of 1, a citywide road program, 2, the purchase and installation of new parking meters, 3, the purchase and replacement of street signs, and 4, the purchase and replacement of traffic lights for various locations within the city. I need a motion to introduce on first reading, advertise, and post according to law, and set the public hearing for December 22nd, 2021.
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
Mr. Viera is absent. Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes. This is the first reading of ordinance 25-21, entitled An Ordinance Amending an Ordinance Establishing Titles and Setting Salaries for Certain Employees of the City of Long Branch for the year 2022. This ordinance amends the salary ranges of certain employees for the year 2022. I need a motion to introduce on first reading, advertise, and post according to law, and set the public hearing for December 22nd, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
Mr. Viera is absent. Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes,
Dr. Vogt?
Yes. Public participation for resolutions and all general comments. I need a motion to open the public portion of the meeting for all comments.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 If any member of the public has a comment to make, please dial *9 on your phone, and a representative will call on you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When you're called upon, state your name and address clearly for the record. You'll have 5 minutes to talk and may only speak once. All comments should be addressed to the council president. There will be no cross dialogue during the public portion. After everyone from the public wishing to speak has been heard, any member of the council or the administration may address your comments and questions. While public participation is encouraged and valued, the presiding officer reserves the right to terminate remarks to or by any individual not in keeping with the code of a proper and efficient meeting. Do we have any callers?
We've got 2 hands raised so far. Caller whose phone number ends in 385. Go ahead. They dropped off as soon as they unmuted. Caller whose phone number ends in 350. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Ernest McNolly, 710 Northeast 7th Street, Unit 407, Boynton Beach, Florida. Born and raised 301 2nd Avenue, Long Branch, New Jersey. I think the public in New Jersey, Monmouth County, Ocean County, the 21 counties in New Jersey, the 53 municipalities in Monmouth County, the 565 municipalities in New Jersey, in the last few years has made national news and international news with the unthinkable, the unbelievable, the cruel, the indifferent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what's the nature of my interest tonight? It's schools and children and infants and students and families. And I don't think there's anyone here who doesn't understand that when there are problems with schools in Monmouth County, often the Monmouth County prosecutor takes over. And when there's a problem with the Monmouth County prosecutor, the Attorney General takes over. And if and when there's a problem with the Attorney General, the federal government takes over. And what I'm trying to understand is, in light of what you're reading about Wall Township and Middletown and Asbury and Long Branch, and Red Bank, and all these schools, everything going on, how can anyone not understand, like a case like Corporal Walls, pleading guilty to methamphetamine and all kinds of stuff in Long Branch, dating back 10, 12 years to the original report by Rizzuto and Korn, that I have that report. And then, of course, dating back to when Sheriff Golden was there, and then Christopher Gramaccioni. And then, of course, the last Attorney General, Gruel. And now, when you see things going on in Long Branch, and all of a sudden you get all these resignations. The New Jersey Attorney General resigns. The Long Branch Police Chief resigns. The school superintendents resign. Officers are charged and found guilty. Teachers, janitors, employees are charged and found guilty, and open charges. Federal lawsuits everywhere. And then relative to students and schools and children, you have the infamous, world famous Seidel case, the Neptune sergeant for 22 years with a 700-page file that in Asbury on that day, we all know what he did. He murdered his wife. And of course, what was the prosecutor? Gramaccioni. And now, all of a sudden, prior to all these things going on in Long Branch, you have Mr. Gramaccioni resign and his wife resign. And now they're representing and talking about students charged in Wall Township. Why is that? Because the current acting prosecutor, Laura Linsky, is born in family and raised in Wall Township. So is Christopher Gramaccioni and his wife and kids. And all of a sudden, they're given a case where, how does that work? When Gramaccioni can't be involved in the Walls case because he resigns because in the Seidel case, he's denied qualified immunity in the civil case. And then his wife says, uh-oh, I'm going to resign from family court in Ocean. And then they set up a law firm. And now the wife, who was the lawyer during Bridgegate, is now representing students and making statements like Senator Gopal and that other judge used to make. Remember when the child did pornography in the basement and the mama superior judge was, oh, don't charge him. He's got such a nice family. He's a bright kid. You know, he's gone. But look what's going on with this case and these cases. Look at these poor children in Asbury and Long Branch. Oh, I don't get a minute warning?
Oh, you didn't say you wanted one.
Thank you, Mr. McNally. Will, do we have any more callers?
One more hand raised. Mr. Lepore, go ahead.
Vincent Lepore, 33 Ocean Terrace, Long Branch, requesting 1 minute notification. Mr. Martin, I have a series of questions for you. If you could answer those questions at the end of my 5 minutes, since there's no cross dialogue, it would be appreciated. Resolution 284, the two bond anticipation notes that are being paid off through the issuance on December 30th, 2021 of a new 2021 bond issue in the amount of $7,272,000 have any pending interest or principal payments that are being capitalized, aka rolled into the new 2021 bonds. The second question, were either of the two bond anticipation notes being combined scheduled to make either a principal or interest payment before year-end 2021, or similarly in January 2022? On Resolution 285, concerning the mayor's denial of cracks in the pool, which social media has now proven the cracks to be, it states, quote, whereas towards the end, the city and redeveloper desire to enter into an agreement, and substantially the form is that on file with the city clerk to further define and memorialize the respective obligations of the city and redeveloper with respect to the completion of the pool improvements and release payment, and the city desires to approve the execution of same, end quote. I'd appreciate an answer to that question as well, Mr. Martin. As far as Resolution 287, conflict Judge Frank LaRocca, incompetence, record of incompetence, shameful of the Pallone administration to have incompetent judges on the bench. The senior center, the $2 million, that's the subject of litigation. That was a real shame. You raised the hopes of the seniors with a presentation today on money that may very well not come to fruition. All to fan the little feathers of your campaign for May by saying we're taking care of the seniors when the money, the $2 million, is very much in doubt due to litigation. Mr. Reno, on the agenda tonight, Resolution 286-21 states, placeholder, Seaview Tower site, has none of the verbiage you described it to be on this agenda. And yes, indeed, it did have a financial arrangement with it. Miss Wittes, you and your legacy in drug rehabilitation, you had the nerve tonight to go ahead and vote for the approval of that cannabis ordinance. It was bad enough with Team Pallone, you campaigned on no tax abatements and then flipped on that completely. But to take your career in drug rehabilitation and what you've stated in the past and do a complete flip and approve a cannabis ordinance tonight is the heightened of hypocrisy. You too, Miss Anita Vogt. For 3.5 years, we've been hearing all your presentations and all your quotes and all your endorsements of anything related with drug-related activity in the hopes of recovery and prevention. You had some nerve tonight, Miss Vogt, to flip on this as you did on tax abatements to approve this cannabis ordinance. But I guess Team Pallone is basically hypocrisy. Miss Wittes, you fan the flames of gangs in this town now who thrive on drugs. We can't even control the crime in this city. Under Team Pallone, according to Money Incorporated, we've now become the 7th worst city in the state of New Jersey to live in. We have no control over the gangs. We saw what happened with the Pier Village riots this past summer. Sheriff Golden attributed the use of marijuana and alcohol on the beach, which triggered the violence of those riots at Pier Village. Miss Wittes, you will have blood on your hands for your vote tonight. Next May, we have to get rid of you.
I don't know if anyone wants to respond to that. I want to respond directly in terms of the statements that were said about me being hypocritical about my work with HERES and the opioid epidemic, and to let it be known that I actually, at one of our meetings, spoke with the steering committee for HERES, and I said, I need your opinion. I need your guidance. And you tell me what is the best thing from your opinion. You know this world. You know the world of recovery. You know the world of addiction. I need your guidance. And that's the guidance that I used on my vote. And I am totally proud of the stand that I took on it. I don't know if anyone else wants to make a comment.
I can answer Mr. Laporte's questions that he asked directly to me. The first two questions, the bonding, our answers are no. And the third question about the pool, I really couldn't follow your train of thought, so I have no idea what you said.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if that last question was directed to me or not, Mr. Martin, but I agree with you. I'm really not quite sure what it was. The resolution is pretty straightforward, so.
And I might add again, I made this point last week, or if I did it, Mr. Laporte keeps talking about cracks in the pool. It's kind of typical what he does, and there's many examples of it, frankly, but he actually had asked city officials, because he had heard some kind of rumor that there were cracks in the pools, and he was clearly told that there are none. And yet this is now the second time that he wants to repeat that. You know, it's interesting because, again, Mr. Lepore has opposed the community pool from the very beginning. As we know, we went to the DEP and tried to stop the construction of the pool. So it just continues with this false statements. And again, I'm going to repeat what I said last week, that we welcome the constructive criticism, but we're no longer going to allow just false statements to go unanswered. And that's all I have to say about that, because frankly, there were a lot of false statements that Mr. Lepore mentioned today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Madam Clerk, have you received any public comment by electronic email or written letter?
No public comments have been received.
Okay, I need a motion to close the public participation portion of this meeting.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll now ask Madam Clerk, are there any changes in the list of resolutions?
Yes, 2 resolutions were pulled from the agenda, Resolution 280-21 and 286-21.
Okay. We can, thank you. We can take the listed resolutions as the consent agenda. I need a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
Mr. Vieira is absent. Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes. Next is applications. I need a motion to appoint the following members of the Long Branch Fire Department. Fred Crum for the West End Company, and the status is active. And Justin Ward, Branchport Company, and again, the status is active. I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
Mr. Vieira is absent. Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
And Dr. Vogt?
Yes. I need a motion to approve the listed application renewal of various tax cab owner licenses for 2022. Need a motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dangler?
Yes.
Mr. Vieira is absent. Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly?
Yes.
And Dr. Vogt?
Yes. Miscellaneous business for the good of the order. Mr. Dangler, why don't you start us off?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'd like to remind everyone that we are still maybe not in the middle of COVID, but we're not done with COVID. So please keep your mask. If you are pro-vaccination, please continue to talk to your friends and family to get the booster shot in vaccination if they have not gotten it yet. And just remember that the only way we can defeat this is staying safe. So if nothing else, we do need to wear our masks. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Councilman Dangler. Councilwoman Wittes.
Hi, good evening. Well, I'd first like to thank Jessica Steckler for her presentation this evening for the Cable Commission. And, I want to especially thank all of the commissions for all that they do and how hard they work to give up their personal time to dedicate to our city. And I'd like to thank them personally. I think they're all doing a great job, and we're very, very fortunate to have them on our commissions. And also thank you for everyone who called in for your comments, and I wish you a good 2 weeks ahead. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Councilwoman Wittes. I agree with you. We have such a tremendous team of people out there working on our boards and commissions, doing a whole lot of good work. So thank you for recognizing them. And now, Councilwoman Selly.
I just have two words to say. Wear your mask. And good evening.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Sally. Mayor Pallone.
Thanks, Council President. I just want to say we're excited about the renovations for our senior center. Thank you to Parallel for the presentation tonight, and we look forward to a new center. On December 18th from 9 to 4, we're going to have another pediatric vaccines will be available in our partnership with the VNA. That's been very successful, and there are other options as well. As you know, pediatric vaccines are available at the library on Wednesday between 2 and 5, and also at the Family Health Center on a daily basis. We're currently still collecting toys for our holiday toy drive. Please drop off any new unwrapped toys or recreation department. Toys will be given out the Christmas party on December 18th. That's between 12 and 4. And I also want to mention, if you could join us for the holiday and arts event at our Arts and Cultural Center this Saturday with a rain date on Sunday from 1 to 5 at 577 Broadway. We're going to be having holiday performers, a student art exhibit. We have over 100 submissions that are on the walls of the Arts Center, Santa, several crafters. It's going to be both inside and outside. We're blocking off the street between Branchport and Norwood, hot chocolate, cookies, and more. As I said, the rain date is on December 12th. And again, for our younger viewers or parents who tell our younger viewers, on both the 15th and the 16th, that's next Wednesday and Thursday between 5 and 7 p.m., Santa will also be at the Arts Center, and they'll have everyone will get a little gift, and they're welcome to visit and take a picture with Santa. Let me just repeat that. That's next Wednesday and Thursday, the 15th and 16th, between 5 and 7 at the Arts Center. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. So I would like to make a comment on an event that happened on December 2nd that was just quite amazing. It may sound a little ironic in terms of the conversation tonight, because what I want to just tell you about, if you weren't able to attend, although we had a wonderful turnout, it was a program that was sponsored by the administration and by HERES. And so obviously it was to address the opioid epidemic. And it was entitled Stop the Stigma, part of many programs that HERES and the administration has done in terms of addressing the issue. It was a documentary that was shown about a city that deals with overdoses, and how do you start to stem the tide on what's happening in cities all over the place. It was the intent of the evening, which I want to first of all thank the mayor, because it was his idea to have this event. It was the intent of the evening was, as usual, to further educate the community about this very, very complex issue. And certainly, as was mentioned during the meeting, it is an issue that, you know, Long Branch and so many cities need to deal with. And it was also an opportunity to let the public know that Long Branch will be getting a new program, which is called a diversion program. And the diversion program is an attempt to work with first-time offenders to rather send them to prison or to jail, to have them in a rehabilitation kind of program where they are very well supervised, where they are held very accountable for their actions, and where they need to pass certain standards in order for them to either have their record, a record waived, but to be able to restore them to be productive citizens in our community. Long Branch is the first city to be awarded that program. We had our judge, Judge Luann Peter Paul. We had the assistant prosecutor at the event, and both of them spoke about how this program can be such literally a lifesaver for people who are struggling with a battle of addiction. It was extraordinarily heartwarming to see the number of people from our community that came out to hear about this and support all the efforts that are being done. My thanks to so many people. As I said, it was the mayor's idea to do this. Thanks to HERES, thanks to certainly our judge, and thanks to the assistant prosecutor, all for their support of Long Branch. HERES was started to help develop Long Branch into a recovery healthy, a recovery-friendly city. As I said, it is a very, very complex issue. All of us need to learn more and more about it. The program that happened on December 2nd was a wonderful step forward with all of that. If you missed the event, please keep your eyes and ears open for the next kind of event like that. We all need to learn. We all need to learn. I also want to thank Christine, who is our new director or coordinator for our arts and our arts center, our arts and cultural center, for her hospitality for that program. She is doing an amazing job with the energy that she's brought to that center, and with a number of programs. It has really been an exciting addition to Long Branch. With that, my thanks for everyone attending tonight. You can see that the council is working very hard to move our meetings through a transition period to where we all know that the facts that are being presented are the facts that you should be hearing, the facts that are correct, and that things are done in a civil and respectful way. And we appreciate everybody's support in making that happen. With that, we'll see you. Hopefully we'll see you again in 2 weeks as we continue on, and thank you for attending tonight. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Everyone, have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.